How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new video. So the second half of this video is actually going to be dedicated towards discussing the recent turnover that we've seen, this decline that we're seeing. I mean, just sort of a regular everyday in cryptocurrency, if you ask me. Some people will view it as the end of the world, and then other people will just see it as an opportunity to fill up some bags on some of these different technologies. And I guess it's anybody's guess for what's the best strategy to take as of currently, but I think this definitely does bring up a really interesting opportunity to illustrate a lot of the simple factors that DigiByte definitely has going for it that are going to be key substantial variables as we look forward. As the paradigm shift continues to progress itself, we're going to be seeing a lot of people along the way losing faith in crypto, as they might be known to do. Realistically, cryptocurrency is a very bumpy road marked with a lot of volatility, and I'd say that the volatility aspect is probably one of the more attractive components of cryptocurrency for some, but then again, it's also the downside for others. So realistically, when we talk about how DigiByte's positioning themselves in this Bitcoin dominance 53.8% world, I think DigiByte's approach, as they've sort of leveraged themselves and marketed really well, but not only do they have the data and the blockchain, which realistically blockchain is going to be the game changer, but DigiByte's well distributed across the world, at the same time faster than Bitcoin. I mean, these are just the facts that speak for themselves. Realistically, I think that one of the key things to bear in mind here is that Bitcoin has an excellent marketing campaign where they've basically established themselves as the quintessential cryptocurrency in the consciousness, household name status, essentially, which is going to be a big hurdle for these altcoins to jump, especially with the reputation of cryptocurrency constantly taking dings in the armor, as far as the media vultures really picking apart the bones of whatever they can get as far as these things. But I would argue that as we continue to move forward and we see people actually realistically using cryptocurrency in their day-to-day activities, DigiByte is certainly up next, and that by that similar token, I definitely say that as we look forward, people would probably pick something similar in terms of technology and performance as DigiByte. Realistically, from a consumer perspective, I think that DigiByte definitely hits the nail on the head, considering the circumstances with the way that things have been functioning. There's obviously some cryptos getting hit harder than others, some interesting indications by the cryptos that have been performing decently. I mean, this one in particular, ZRX, definitely an interesting crypto to keep an eye on. Certainly whenever there's going to be a big instance like the one that we've seen, where different cryptos are getting hit hard from different angles, we're obviously going to see some really interesting truths behind the scenes sort of stuff. In particular, we look at the way that these different cryptos have been performing and so forth, and it is definitely a an interesting time, to say the least. In particular, when we take into consideration, I mean, the cryptos that get hit the hardest are obviously normally the ones that are up towards the top. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin dominance, 53.9%, and I know that people have mixed feelings when they see Bitcoin dominance going up, because sometimes people see that realistically, we have to look at what happened on Wall Street. We can't overlook the variables that have been happening on an international scale, because those are really where the proof is in the pudding essentially, as far as we see these different things as they've been culminating. Now, realistically, I think that it has to do with trust, you know, on the larger scale. Realistically, a lot of these things that have to do with you know, finances and so forth definitely do go back to trust and so forth. And now, realistically, when we look at the stability, the potential in store, you know, revolving around cryptocurrency, that's fundamentally, I would say that cryptocurrency is still right up where they need to be. They're much more stable than they get credit for. The fact of the matter is that I mean, we just look at a technology like DigiByte, for instance, and it's definitely important to take into consideration the fact that DigiByte has been aiming towards security, because this is fundamentally going to be a bigger and bigger problem with a lot of these different apparatus and functioning you know, variables in society that run into issues that are related to centralization, the storing of data, and a lot of these different things as it pertains to Facebook and a lot of these different social media platforms, search engines. And as things continue to progress and move forward, we're certainly going to see that sort of decentralized component growing in favorability as far as the functionality that these big corporations lean towards. So as we move forward, we're looking at situations such as the one, I mean, there's essentially two different ways that you could look at it. You could either see this as a you know, the purge and go run and scream in the streets, or you could see this as an opportunity. And I wouldn't blame you either way, because I mean, it's scary stuff, you know, scary world we live in. So realistically, when you look at the culmination of all these different dynamics and how we've been seeing, you know, in retrospect, and of course looking at it in the overall context of what we were seeing happening last year, my faith is still it still holds. I mean, as far as cryptocurrency goes, the technology's there, and fundamentally, it's as far as all these other apparatus, this different functionalities of you know, the different components of society, as it concludes on this paradigm shift that we're really at the beginning stages of. The days like today, I mean, what's a couple 20 billion among friends essentially would be sort of that old standby, but we're seeing the regular YouTubers, Boxmining with this video, Wall Street Meltdown, how will it affect crypto, and all these different things, CNBC television even, you know, live. Senate Banking Committee holds hearing on crypto. I mean, that's big news that I think is going unnoticed due to the fact that people have been you know, paying so much attention to their wallets getting lighter, and I wouldn't blame them. But of course, realistically, for those of us who've been involved with cryptocurrency for any amount of years, this is just another day, another walk in the park. If you are new to this space and you're taking a hit right now, I mean, obviously, shout out to you. I mean, you're the one, you're learning. It's still a learning process and all these different things. But this is ultimately why we always talk about how it's important to foster that sort of data analytical perspective when it comes to these different things, and how we've been seeing these various different components coming together. And it ultimately, it's going to be the cryptocurrencies that are leveraging blockchain technology. It's going to be the cryptos that are really taking advantage of the paradigm shift at its core, that I would say would be the ones that are going to survive the onslaught of days like today. Now, of course, I mean, all but Tether are pretty much everything's in the red, and that pretty much gives you an indication of what people but 0x still, for some reason, I mean, it's interesting to see this sort of technology having a sort of a mini little bull run happening. I mean, it's clearly you really have to look at who's behind the scenes when it comes to this sort of thing, because certainly when there's all this panic in the market and stuff, there's always opportunities for clever minds who aren't necessarily thinking inside of the limitations and so forth of the pack mentality, if you will. So realistically, it is interesting to see this this sort of protocol as far as these sort of things go. But 0x is launching on Coinbase Pro. This is really big news, I would say. Honestly, I would. It's something that isn't to be overlooked, and this news is dropping 27 minutes ago. I mean, we always talk about how Coinbase really is an epicenter of noobs getting involved with cryptocurrency, and realistically, that's good. I mean, things going on Coinbase puts them right up front into the public consciousness as far as these things go, and it tends to have that sort of a ripple effect. So now there's definitely some interesting things that have been developing from, I mean, this point moving forward, and now I'm not depressed by any means about the current state. I mean, obviously you've got to know when you're hot and when you're cold. You got to know when to fold them and when to hold them, like that song says. But yeah, I mean, realistically, if I could just impart one piece of wisdom, it would definitely be doing your research when it comes to these things. And of course, I mean, there's always going to be people who are fear and all these things kick in. The fight or flight reflex is well and prevalent, and even especially in a concentrated area like these different markets. So I mean, certainly it's not free from global affairs, but I mean, big leaders make push to liquidate Sears. The Wall Street Journal first reported on Tuesday that Sears hired partners, a boutique firm, to prepare bankruptcy filing. So I mean, it's a worse day for people who work at Sears, I would say, than for people who are just dabbling in cryptocurrency. I mean, obviously, I mean, in the comments, of course, people talking about how much they love DigiByte. Who doesn't love DigiByte? But yeah, all that being said, I mean, this is just a short video. Just want to let everybody know we're still here. I mean, we're still on your team. Obviously, this video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. I'm not your dad, but it is interesting to see how these different variables have been culminating, and it is interesting to touch base, of course, on these different things. And we'll be doing more live shows in the future, so make sure that if you guys are interested, you can connect with us on Twitter. That's at CryptoTuber, and of course, let us know what your comments are down below. What do you think is happening that's leading to all this certain stuff? So being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.